everybody, and thank you for doing your daily sign-in into the world of video games. Today we're gonna be talking about all the interviews that went around talking about the Demon Souls changes that are coming on for PS5. The creative director was interviewed by quite a few media outlets out there. And then we're gonna talk about the various different sizes that come into Call of Duty Black Ops. Apparently you can supersize it, but you can also pick what download size you want for it, depending on the features that you're gonna actually go and try on. There's also the fact that the main character, we got a little bit more backstory into Final Fantasy XVI's character, especially one of the main characters for sure. And Cyberpunk still dealing with the ramifications of the crunch, especially during the investors call that he had very recently. So let's get to it. Alright, but as always, remember, if you like what you see, remember to give us a like if you're watching this on YouTube. And to not miss any of your daily sign-ins, click the subscription button and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are always on the loop with the latest video game news. Also, remember, if you're listening to this on podcast services, you can leave us a review just to give us a little bit of feedback on how we're doing. But let's get started. Alright, so Demon Souls is a thing that it's coming out for the PS5 as one of its launch titles. We got a lot of interviews. This is coming from Polygon, Eurogamer, IGN. But let's get started with the one from Polygon. So the creative director was talking about the fact of all the changes that are coming and all the things that are remaining the same. One of his quotes were, "Our approach to this is we try to and keep the core of the game untouched. With Demon Souls, that's the gameplay, the logic, and the AI, and then everything else is stripped away. And then utilizing the incredible power of the PS5 and how much we could really go wild on this title, we started to build everything back." So essentially, trying to keep the core of Demon Souls as much as they can. Again, logic, AI, gameplay. That's what unifies the game. And now stripping everything away in terms of visuals, especially because this game, if I remember correctly, it was called the PlayStation 5 launch title will offer a performance mode that presents a dynamic 4K and 60 frames per second experience, a cinematic mode that is 4K and 30 FPS, and a bunch of filters that make the game look like the original PS3. So what I like about that part is they're keeping the original intent, even the original look with some of the camera filters that they're adding. Even though they're improving the visuals, they're kind of putting their own spin on the visuals to see what they it's an interesting balance between keeping the original vision and also adding in and progressing it to look like next level and the next generation experience for sure. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is one of the boss fights that you get in the game. This looks absolutely wild. We're looking at this only on the YouTube trailer, but it just looks incredible. Like, you can already tell how much more fluid it looks, how much the boss battle and the effects that you can actually get from it are incredible. And this is only looking at it at 1080p. Imagine what you can see for 4K if you wanted to have that, or a dynamic 4K for 16 frames per second experience. One of the things that did change, though, there are a few aspects that he mentioned. One of the positive ones, in my opinion, I would say, is the audio. One of the things he quoted is, "Unfortunately, the music that was recorded for the original version was digital only." Moore said, which is the creative director, "And I think the score by Shinsuke Kira is so good that to do it real justice on the PlayStation 5, we had to make sure it was recorded by a full orchestra." So essentially, they're not remaking the audio by any stretch of the imagination. They're just making sure that the original audio was played with a full orchestra, so you can get the full aspect of the PS5, especially because one of the big selling points is the audio capabilities that it provides. Obviously, a lot of people talk about the SSD, but there was during the Mark Cerny talk, there was a lot of also tech talk about the audio capabilities and the audio mapping and how much attention they're putting to the next generation audio. Some of the things that got a little bit more of a quote-unquote controversial look at it is the camera is changing a little bit. So one of the quotes here from this comes from IGN by Jonathan Dornbush. The quote from the creative director says, This is the game this is the game that gave birth to this genre of gaming, and we have to pay to pay great respects to the original vision. But at the same time, we have to make a lot of modern life improvements, but none of these were taken lightly. More said, when we decided to have a look at the camera, for instance, we changed the camera position slightly and made sure that it doesn't run through the walls and get stuck on collisions and all those sort of things. That doesn't mean that we don't have an option in the game, so you can turn to the all camera if you want to. You can do that. We preserve all of that. It all exists there for the user to switch on and off as they wish. So again, the camera itself, I remember because this is the only only Soulsborne game that I actually beat and actually got the Platinum Trophy for it. Even though it took me countless hours of grinding, I really enjoyed Demon Souls. It was a lot of fun and a lot of experience. Watching all these bosses right now on the screen, it's mind-blowing how great they look. Because I don't remember them looking this great, and I really enjoyed their boss battle. But in any case, having them switch and put their own spins to actually try to improve the original experience already by adding this dynamic camera that they want to have to avoid some of the glitches that you saw from the original game. It's a good thing to have. What I really enjoyed about that part is giving you the option. It's like if you don't like the new camera, you can go back to the original one, and even if it's your janky and stuff, you get the choice. It's a player choice to do what they want. Whether it defaults to this one or defaults to the other one, that is up to the player. Because I believe if you want to get the original experience and you're so hardcore of a gamer that you want to do that, you will most likely look for those options. So now the other part that was a little bit of more controversy is, remember he mentioned with the camera that there's going to be two options. However, there are, as always, when it comes to Soulsborne games, there is the topic of accessibility and whether or not these games are going to have the ability to have lowered other types of difficulties than is the extreme level of difficulties that these games provide. Obviously, he mentioned that on basically a run through with Famitsu that the Soulsborne games are just there will be no difficulty options presented on the remake, which kind of brought about the topic of, well, you gave us the option with the camera, how come you don't switch the difficulty for this and give us the option to switch on and off on that? That is a very controversial topic because the original intent of these games was to make them difficult, like make it so that beating something was very worthwhile. And obviously the original game was built with that intent, with no difficulty in mind. That being said, there's a lot of games that provide accessibility. I'm all for having a lot of players play the games, even if it's not the most optimal experience. At least having the ability to experience the game is way better than just not being there for them when they need it. Now, this is where, in my own opinion, trophies are actually a good thing. I'm actually a very big Platinum Hunter. I was back in the day on PS3, fell off in the PS4 era, but planning to come back to it on the PS5 for sure. I think trophies in this part actually help. In the case that if you add a trophy saying you can only get this if you beat Soulsborne, or Demon Souls in its original difficulty, then that means that, okay, if you want to prove that you are a hardcore gamer and you are really good at playing games, then you can show, okay, I got the trophy. But if you didn't do that, if you just beat it normally, you still got to experience all the bosses and how cool this environment looks, but you don't get to say, oh, I beat it like it was meant to be beaten, right? Also, you can get, I like the different options. I think the difficulty saying, oh, easy, medium, hard is a little bit now antiquated. I feel like it should be, how did the developers intend this game to be played? And if that's the hardest difficulty or the slowest difficulty, that doesn't matter. They just gives you that option and you can pick that one. But if you want the game more accessible and it's easier for you to play, but you can still experience the entire environment and, oh my gosh, this game looks so great, then you have the ability to do so as well. That is all my own takes on it though. Remember, all the links for all the interviews, there's a lot more information in there. All the links for all the interviews are on the description below, as well as the video that we're watching this on YouTube, if in case you're just listening to this on audio. Okay, moving on to the next story, which is the Call of Duty. So we got a little bit of the spec requirements for Call of Duty, and this is coming from Polygon. It's saying that Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is gonna need between 50 to 250 gigabytes. So it all depends on what you actually want from it. Like if you just came here for the multiplayer, well, good news for you, you only need 50 gigabytes. If you want all of the Cold War modes, then you need 175 gigabytes. However, if you're one of the players that wants 4K textures and experience everything and its full glory, then you need 250 gigabytes. This has always been an interesting topic for Call of Duty given the recent surge of Modern Warfare. Not Modern Warfare, but I guess Warzone. Whenever Warzone, the Battle Royale multiplayer mode came out, which is free for everybody to download, took, at the beginning it was over 100 gigabytes, and I believe it's getting close to 200, and every single time that they push an update, it's a chunky size. So imagine having a hard drive that is only 500 gigabytes, or an SSD that is only 500 gigabytes, and having this occupy just half of it with one game. It's kind of chunky, and games just keep getting bigger and bigger. This is one of the most extreme examples though. That being said, if you have the capabilities, if you have the beefiest PC to run 4K and all that sort of stuff, then maybe you do have the cash to actually put out for the storage needed for this game. But it's interesting. What I liked about it is now you have different options that you can select to say, oh, I only want to play the multiplayer, or I want to play the single player and then I'll delete it. Or if you're a hardcore Call of Duty, you just have to like bite the bullet and get the 250 gigabyte one. Now let's talk about a little bit about Final Fantasy XVI. Clive. Apparently, this comes from Eurogamer by Wesley Yin Po. It says that the first Clive, which is one of the main characters of Final Fantasy XVI, which I'm going to show right over here. He's the firstborn son of Archduke of Rosaria. Clive is a shield who protects his younger brother Joshua, the dominant of the Phoenix. Sorry, the Yoshida said. Joshua bestowed the blessing of the Phoenix upon him, giving Clive the ability to wield a part of Icon's fire. However, as the story unfolds, he's swept out by a great tragedy. Honestly, this is like whenever the original views on the trailer themselves. Like when I'm seeing Final Fantasy XVI when it was revealed for the first time during one of the PlayStation showcases, it looks incredible. Like it's coming back to the it has a more medieval look. It reminded me a little bit of Game of Thrones because I actually haven't played many of the Final Fantasies. Actually, I only played one and the demo of the 7 remake. But every single Final Fantasy that I see really captivates my visual sensory, because it just looks so great. Now I cannot speak about what the gameplay will look like. I will link the actual article on the descriptions below, so you can actually take a look at all the different stories, because I'm not gonna pretend here that I know anything that was going on. It's mostly a matter of the visuals look incredible, the story looks great. I hope it really pans out, because a lot of people really enjoyed the Final Fantasy 15, the original, at least at the beginning, but they kind of fell off as the story went through. Hopefully that's not the case for Final Fantasy 16. Okay, and to end up with two things, we always have the fun segment at the end, but to end, we're gonna talk a little bit more about Cyberpunk's 2077. This news came out this morning. There was a tweet by Jason Schreier talking about two things. It was basically, one was an interview with the investors of the CD Projekt Red, which the boss was speaking on behalf of the company. And essentially, I would link you can actually read the full investors meeting in there. I went through some of it. I didn't finish it all. But some of the main pieces that you get from it are here on the tweet by Jason Schreier. And it says, regarding crunch, actually, it's not that bad. And never was. Of course, it's a story that has been picked up by the media, and some people have been crunching heavily. But a large part of the team is not crunching at all since they have finished their work. It's mostly about QA and engineers and programmers, but it's not that heavy. Of course, it will be extended a bit, but we had feedback from the team they're happy about the extra 3 weeks, so we don't see any threats regarding crunch. Again, this comes from co-CEO Adam Kinsinski, which is okay. And I know the audience for this particular talk is the investors. He's trying to make sure that everybody is satisfied. He's in the middle of multiple parties, but at the same time, these investor meetings actually get brought down because it's get brought to the public. So essentially, you can, like I said, you can actually read all of this. So as soon as you give a statement like this that is a public statement, you will get caught by the media. That's for sure. And afterwards, apparently, he also sent an email to employees apologizing for what he said during the investors meeting. He says, "Dear all, from the bottom of my heart, I would like to apologize to everyone for what I said during Tuesday's investor conference call. I had not wanted to comment on crunch, yet I still did, and I did it in a demeaning and harmful way. Truth be told, it's only now, when the stress connected with the delayed decision and the call itself is lifting, that I'm fully realizing the true extent of my words. I have nothing to say in my defense. What I said was not even unfortunate, it was utterly bad. For that, please accept my more sincere and honest apologies. I always was, and I'm still proud of the heart and soul you put into what you do every day. Yours truly, Adam." That is at this point we are in an interesting boat. Yesterday we talked about the different production problems or not even problems, but the bumps in the road that 343 has been having with now 2 directors leaving the company during the Halo Infinite's development, and now CD Projekt there obviously has their own issues. Given a 3rd delay and having a 4th release date in there is obviously meaning that there's some changes, some shifts, some things going in the background. Again, we talked about the public image that both gives this kind of statements give. Essentially, obviously, a lot of people now have their eyes and focus on making sure that developers are actually well taken care of, and having crunches like that can really eat at your mental, physical, and spiritual health. That's even if you don't feel it at the moment, it's a long run. It actually feels. I personally experienced some of this in the past, but at the same time, you want there is the expectation. Like a lot of people really want they have an expectation, a bar in their mind that they want Cyberpunk 2077 to hit, and obviously, given everything and how great this game has looked and how hard the company and the employees have actually worked on this, that they don't want to have a launch that basically hurts the image of the product, given after they worked so hard for it. Now, that's an interesting balance. It's not, in my own personal opinion, as always, it's better. It's important to take care of the employees, making sure that the creative vision is not impacted by the amount of work that it takes and the amount of effort, because it's hard to just live a life of creating. There has to be there's other aspects of not a developer's life that needs to be taken care of for sure. Now, the last piece, because we don't want to end up on kind of a controversial note, let's talk about one little cool aspect that I saw. So on Pokemon Sword and Shield, you can the new DLC allows you to actually capture the legendary birds, and in their own version, which like the Crown Tundra's version, and Zapdos, which is one of the original legendary birds, it used to be electric, and these DLC, it basically turned it into the Roadrunner. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see how fast this bird moves, and I think it's also to make it complicated to actually capture in the wild, given that you can actually see the Pokemon in the grass. So you have to actually go and basically collide with them in order to start the encounter and try to capture it. The fact that this bird moves so quickly, there have been so many memes that I recommend just search Zapdos the Roadrunner, and you will find a lot of cool, awesome clips for you to watch. I will link some of them in the description below so you can watch them. But yeah, that is everything that we got for you today. Thank you so much, everybody who joined me for your daily sign-in into the world of video games. Remember, we come to you live every single weekday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But if you're not allowed to catch us there, or if you were, it's not like you're not allowed, sorry, you are definitely allowed to catch us there. But if you can't, then you don't worry about it, because this daily signing comes to you on audio form on all podcast services and also on YouTube the following morning. So you can go check it out there for sure. Remember, you can join the conversation too. I really wanted to know what you think of Demon's Souls, how difficult it is to basically maintain the original vision for the game but up-res it to a point that is actually good for the next generation of consoles. I would like to hear your thoughts. If you can do so by writing in the description, or I really recommend if you just join the Discord and we can have a conversation there. It feels like more of a natural back and forth that I would like to have. But all things are in the description below. Or if you're an old school and you like that, then you can also email us at itsallfunandgamestv@gmail.com. We accept all forms, absolutely. With that, I think that's everything that we got for you today. With that, I leave you with the daily sign out. Or sign off. I like sign off.